Hey everyone, this is Adam Browse. I thought I'd record a screencast of kind of how to do some of this GitHub and Bootstrap stuff so everybody was synced up on the same page by this Friday. Yeah, let's get started. So I'm just going to narrate what I do here. So first I'll open my terminal with Spotlight and I'll navigate into my dev folder. I don't have to do the CDs like you guys do because I have a little helper, but I'm going into my dev folder and I'm gonna put in a make directory and I'll just call it bootstrap sample. And now I'll cd into bootstrap sample and I'll touch index.html. So now I can see there's an index.html file. And then I'm already going to initialize GitHub in this. So I'm going to say git init. And now I'll open up GitHub and I will already make a new repository and I'll call it the same name, and you'll see that I do lowercase with hyphens. That's called kebab case, and I just make the name the same for both because I want to make sure. Here, I can make this a little bigger. So I'm going to make the name the same. And I won't touch any of this. I'll leave it public. I won't initialize with a README. I'll just make it completely empty. And then now it gives me this great stuff. Git init, which I already did. Git add README. I don't need to add the README. I'm just going to add everything. So I'll say git add. And then I can say git commit, my first commit. Paste that in there. And then I can say git remote add, and I'll add that in there. So now I've got, if I say git remote -v, I can see my origin is this remote GitHub. It's just called origin. I could call it anything, but I'll call it origin. And now I'm going to push this this empty index.html file up to GitHub. So you can see it's enumerating the objects, it's counting them, writing them, then it compresses them, pushes them up, and you can see that now it's up there. And I'll show you a little bit something else. So here I can make changes to these files in GitHub if I wanted to. I just click this little edit file and I could, like, if I wanted to, I could code in here. I don't usually want to do that, so I'm not going to do that. But I will add a README up here. Let's say add README, and then I'll say, you know, wireframing. I'll just add something there. Now I can say commit. So essentially I'm doing a commit here, but I'm in the remote repository. So now I added this README file, so you can see locally there is no README file, but here there is a README file. If I want to get what everything is in my my remote repo down, I can say git pull, and that'll pull down. So now I pulled down my README file, so now I have it here. Okay, so now I have Bootstrap all set up, or sorry, I mean I have GitHub all set up, so my local repository is initialized. Now I'm going to, oh, by the way, you can tell if something's a local repository, if a file is GitHub enabled, if you say ls-a to show hidden files, and you'll see that there's this hidden .git directory. That's how Git is actually existing in this directory. Any directory with a .git directory is a GitHub directory, but that's hidden, so you usually don't see it. So let's add GitHub. So we'll do HTML:5. Because I have emit, I can just hit tab and I get all that. And now I'm going to go to not GitHub, but Bootstrap. And I'm going to go to the getting started docs, and then I'm going to use this. I'm going to copy this link. There we go. So now I have that, and we can just test that this is working. With Atom, I can right click and I can say show in file manager, and then I can just double click. And now I can see it is Bootstrap and it is enabled because I can see that the font is different. If I comment this out, then it changes back. So I know Bootstrap's enabled. Okay, great. So now which website am I gonna wireframe? Well, how about I wireframe the homepage of GitHub? So I'll go to the homepage of GitHub, and actually I'll even sign out of GitHub so I can really look at what their homepage looks like. So I'll just look at what the signed out of GitHub homepage looks like. Oh, it's taking a long time. Come on. Okay, this is cool. Okay, so I'm going to try to build something that looks like this. Maybe I'll only get down to maybe this second part here. Okay, so the first thing is this nav bar. So let's put in a nav bar. So I'm going to go to the nav bar. And then I'm going to take this sort of standard nav bar. I think there's a way to make it like a dark color too. Let me see. Yeah, so I can do, if I say nav bar dark, it'll look a little better. So let's paste in the nav bar. Okay, so here's the nav bar. I'm going to tab this whole thing in because I'm always going to keep my indentation right. So see how it's all, this is all a child of the body here. So see if I hit those little carrots, I can see that. So I get all nav of the body, and then the nav is here, and then there's buttons. Anyways, so I want to make sure my indentation is always perfect. And now instead of nav bar light, I'm going to use nav bar dark because I want it to be dark. Let's see. Looks like I need to do nav bar dark, background dark, BG dark. Let's see what that looks like. Boom. Okay, so now we're getting closer there. GitHub has a little bit of a thing. But you see how everything's all the way on the edges here? I want it to, they have like a gutter here, so I'm going to add that using my container class. So maybe if I just put container in here, maybe that'll work. No, that got the whole thing inside. I think I can just put a container class here, and then I can put everything that's inside of the nav inside of that. Maybe that'll work. And remember, I'm always going to be monitoring my indentation. See? Child, child, children, all children down. And I should see the same thing, div nav down at the bottom. Okay, hopefully you can see this all. Make this a little bigger for you. Okay. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So that's pretty similar. That's all we really need for a wireframe. We don't need to get it pixel perfect. So now I have this main big piece here and this built for developers, and this will be like a card with a form. So let's do that with a, so we're going to go after the nav bar. We're going to say container, and inside the container we'll do a jumbotron, or actually this goes all the way across, so let's do the jumbotron first, and then inside the jumbotron we'll do the container, and then inside the container we'll do a row, whoops, and then inside the row we'll do a col SM or col MD6, and we'll do 2 of those. So the col MD6, the reason why we do 6 is because it's 6 and 6, is we want to take half the screen, which is what GitHub does here. It does, this is half and this is half, so it's like 6, or maybe this is 7 and 5 actually. Let's fix that. So this looks like it's about 7 and 5. It's off center. And then in here we can say H1, and this is built for developers. And then we can use like a lead text to say this stuff. We'll just paste it in there. Okay, let's look at it. Cool, that looks pretty good. Getting closer. Yeah, okay, now let's get this card over here. So this is what's called, oop, I don't want to sign in. Okay, I just want to go back to the home page. So this is what's called a card in Bootstrap. This nice rounded corner white deal. So we'll say card, and then we'll go, see this is like a card with an image on top. We're not going to have an image though. We're just going to use it without an image. And we'll put a form in there. And it looks like they just have the body. They don't have like a sign up. Ooh, do you see how bad the indentation is there? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up that indentation so it's really clean. That's always the first thing I do. Okay, see how now the indentation's perfect? This is the parent, child, child, sibling, child, child, sibling, sibling, and then up the parent chain, up the parent chain, up the parent chain. Okay, so we don't need this image, so we're going to delete the image. And we have the card body. There's no card title though, but we do have a card text. But then the card text is not actually going to be text, it's going to be a form. So we're going to put a form in there. And it doesn't matter what the action is, so we'll just put a pound sign there. And I don't know why that p tag is red. Okay, so now that we have this form, we have to put these guys like a label and then an input and then a label and then an input and a label and input. This is a password input, and then it looks like there's some little text underneath that. then a big green button, and then some centered text below that. So let's do that. So if we look at our form stuff, well, let's see how far we are already. Okay, so my card is empty right now. You can see it's just got nothing in it, just that empty form. So let's look at a form. Okay, so here's a form already, and we can see they do form group is the class, and then they put a label and then an input, and then there's this little help text underneath, which actually we need that too, because they have this little help text right here. So we'll use that for the password form. So let's just take this whole cloth and just put it in here. And again, the first thing we'll do is we'll fix the indentation so that we don't get in trouble. There we go. See how the indentation's nice and clean still? Okay. Should be like cascading, like a waterfall. Okay, so now we have email. What do we want from Bootstrap? Username, email, password. So this should be username. This should be email. Well, let's use the password one here. So we'll just duplicate this email one. Email, and we'll change the type. So this says type email. This will say type text, type email, type password. Okay, so there's 3 of them, and then this is going to have a check me out. I don't want the check me out, so I'm going to delete that. And then this button is primary, but I want it to be green, so I'm going to use button success, and then I'm going to do button block, because I think that'll make it, yeah, that'll go across like I have. See, sign up for GitHub. This says submit. We'll say sign up for GitHub. Okay, and then if we want to see how much padding there is there, we can put there's a utility class called P, and you can do P5. Oh, that's probably too big. We want more like PT5 and PB5. That's padding top 5 and padding bottom 5. Huh, didn't really get much bigger. Do you see how this is pretty small, actually? I was thinking that it was 5.7, but it looks like it's really just 6.6. So let me fix that. So this is going to be 6, and this is going to be 6. It didn't really get any wider. Oh, because see how the style is set in line? Remember, we never want to do inline styling. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so now it is, maybe it was 5 and 7, because now look how big this is. That's too big. So I think I was right about the 5 and 7, but then this width was throwing me off. Okay, there we go. That was looking pretty good. Well, anyways, this is not centered vertically the way this is. See how this is centered vertically on this? We can fix that, but let's first get this little help text. So this small help text we can move down to just here below the password. There we go. Nice. And then we can use their actual little text if we want, just so that we really look like their website. And you see how it uses a small tag? Small tag just makes the text a little smaller. Oh, look at that. Looks pretty good. Now this sign up for GitHub button is ridiculous still. We got to fix this. So PT, these aren't working. Let's fix it. Okay, so that's obviously 2. So we want top and bottom padding. Okay, I think we just don't want 5. I think we want like 3. Let's try 3. So these don't, okay, that's starting to look better. I think we need 4 though. Just a little bit bigger and we'll be close. Yeah, look how close that is. That's very similar. Okay, I also think this is a bit narrower than, it's not the full 12 columns across. I think it's 10 columns. So instead of 7 and 5, we're going to do 6 and 4, and we're going to offset 1. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, now that's starting to look really pretty close. Although I still think it might be 6 and 6. So let's try 5 and 5. Yeah, I think that's closer. That's closer. That's good. Okay, so then we just need to make this vertically aligned. That's a little bit complicated. We're not going to do that right now, but it is possible with Bootstrap to make the this text vertically aligned in the center. But let's just keep going so we can see one more element here, which is just this little section right here. So if you think about it, this is just centered text. This is just centered text, and I can put it in here. Let's see here. Somebody's at the door. They want me to stop. No, I will not stop. Okay, let's just do it this way. So this is going to be, let's just do it in its own container, its own row, and then let's do,
We have this room.
oh, okay. I have to move rooms, okay. So we're going to keep working on this, but we're going to go somewhere quietly. I just got booted out of my room that I'm in. Okay, new room. Okay, one more row. So because this is just centered text, you see this is just centered text here with a button, we can do that pretty fast. So let's do it here. So we'll do col MD6 offset MD3 because we want, do you see how this is the middle half of the screen is in the center. So we want to offset by 3, go 6, and then have the other 3 on this side. So then inside there, excuse me, inside there we want some centered text. So we can say text center, and then we can do H1 for a big header, and we'll say get started. Actually, we'll do H2 because you notice how this is a little bit smaller font than this. So this will be our H1, and then this will be our H. Maybe this is actually like an H3. Let's do an H3. Okay, and then underneath that, this looks like some pretty small text, but maybe that's just normal size text. So we'll just do a P tag, and we'll say take collaboration next level. And then we need our button. And for that, we can do, I think this is like a link. So we'll do an A tag, and we'll add the class BTN, and then it's blue, so it's BTN primary. And then we want some padding, so we'll say P3, and we'll say contact sales. And then below that is a link, so we'll do a link, and it'll say, or start free trial for enterprise server. Let's see what that looks like. All right, that's pretty good. I can't scroll any further down, which is kind of annoying. But that looks pretty good, except for this is not on the right. This needs to be on the next level here, so we can wrap these in P tags. So we can say P, and we'll put the A tag in the P tag. There we go. Pretty nice. But now, one thing I'll just be a stickler about is see how this is. This like gets cut off. I think I might be wrong about 6. I think it might be 8 and 2. So it might be 2 columns and then 8 columns and then 2. So let's fix that. So instead of offset, it's going to be colMD 8 offset 2. And let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks a lot better. And then do we have our white space right? Yeah, pretty much. Maybe there could be a little more white space here because there's a little more here. And we could do that. We could just put a MT3, that's margin top 3 here. Oh, it's not working. Why don't we do it here? Yeah, so give that a little bit more breathing room. So if we want to look at that in the box model in our dev tools, we can see that what I did was I gave this guy this little orange margin here. So that's just to give it a little more space. Great. And we could even put a MB5, that'll give it a margin bottom. Now we have a little more breathing space on the bottom as well, which is what it has too. You can see here there's some breathing space here before this other section. So now for each of these other ones, I could do another row. So each one I could do container, row, etc., etc. Also, see how I have container here and here. I don't have it here though, I have it here and here. I could actually pull this up into this container and just have one container. I'm gonna always fix my indentation. And now I also want to always give a commentary. So I'll do command ? to put in a comment. and I can say get started section, and then this would be, what section is this? This section is, we'll call this social proof because it's the organizations that use GitHub. So we'll say social proof, and I'll highlight it and do command question mark in order to comment it out. And then the next section is called GitHub for Teams. So we'll say, get the indentation right, and we'll say for Teams. And now I have a little bit of a kind of a work list to do here. I can just go through and make each one. So I got this little image here on the side here. This is kind of my, you know, I could call this my like, I'll call this wins, because these are the wins. Write better code, manage your chaos, find the right tools. So these are the wins that I'm going to get. And I don't need to necessarily make it so that this animation works. I can just put an image placeholder here, or I could even just copy this image or save this image and then put it into my project. Oh, it's an SVG. Well, it doesn't matter. So I could put this image into my project, and then I could load it here. So this would be col sm rmd6, and then same thing, col md6, because this is 2 columns. Oh, it looks like this is a bit wide. This picture is a bit wider than 6, so this is probably 7 and 5. And yeah, and then I'll start to, the more I do in here, the more I'll be done until I have it pretty much looking all the way the same. There'll be tiny differences, so you can see like my nav bar isn't as fat, but we know how to fix that. Actually, we could go up to our nav bar and we could add a P3, and maybe that'll make our nav bar, yeah, a little fatter. Theirs is even more fat when we do 5. Oh, 5's too big, so I'll do 4. Yeah, that's about just right. So basically we can just keep making changes until it really looks the same. So why GitHub, Enterprise, Explore, these drop downs, we actually have drop downs here, so we could actually fix that. Our drop down won't work unless we add JavaScript. Here, I'll show you how to do that. So you go to the getting started, and you have, this is the CS, but here's the JavaScript. So if we copy that and we put it right below the link tag here, now we have these JavaScript tags. Now our drop down will work. So if we look at our drop down, that'll actually work now. So we could actually put in drop downs here. These drop downs, when you hover on them, drop down. The Bootstrap drop downs, you have to click on them. But and then also see they have this sign up, sign in button, and we don't have that. You could add that. You just have to use this same pattern that they use here of a UL with a navbar nav. You just put that down here, and then keep the indentation good, and then close your UL tag first, and then we'll get rid of this MR auto, and then you'll see now we have a home button. We want it to be though sign in and sign up, so this would be, we'll say sign in, and we'll get rid of this active business. And we'll get rid of this span. We don't need that. So now it says sign in, just like that, sign in. And now we want to sign up. We want a button. So we got to do, I think Bootstrap has nav buttons. Let's see. Let's see if there's a navbar button we can use. This search button is obviously a pretty nice button, but that's inside this form inline. I think if we make it outside, oh, here we go. No, that's inside a form again. Well, there is a way to make a navbar button. We can always search the internet, so we'll say Bootstrap 4, and then because that's the version, and then we'll say navbar button. And we'll see if somebody has a good solution. Let's see if this tells us. Okay, so they want to use Bootstrap 4. You want to put a button in there. Let's see, what do they use for a button? Looks like they just do beat button Looks like they just put a button in there. Let's try that. So what if we say just a pound, and then we say class btn, and then btn outline light. Let's just see what that looks like. There says sign up, right? Yeah, sign up. Oh, it worked. All right, well, this is a rare case where things work the first time. Notice that they do everything not capital title case, but actually just capitalized. So the first letter is capitalized, but not the first letter in the next word. So if we're really trying to copy them, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to get rid of this button in the search bar because theirs doesn't have one. Cool. Sign in, sign up. That's looking pretty good. If I get rid of this, it's going to look even better. Yeah, wow. Cool. Okay, great. So that's kind of that's like the homework. So that took me about 10 minutes or so, just to show you guys kind of how to do it. Let's not forget the last and kind of most important thing, which is we can say get status to see what we changed, and it looks like all we did was modify the one file, which is good. And now we can say get add period to add everything we did, and then we can say get status again to see that the changes are now staged to be committed. And now at this point, if we wanted to, we could reset to get to unstage the changes. We made a mistake, but we're ready. So we're going to say get commit -m for message, and we're going to say about 1/3 done wireframing GitHub with Bootstrap. And you don't have to write such a verbose comment, but it's nice to give a good message. Okay, so now we can say get status, and it'll say we're on the branch master, but our branch is ahead of origin master. That's remember, origin is our remote repository. So the branch is ahead of origin master by 1 commit. Use git push to publish your local commits. So we'll do that, git push, and that will push things up to GitHub. And now we have those changes reflected in our remote repository. And that's the way we're going to turn it in. So all we have to do to turn it in is we're going to take the link to the repository, and you can already see this is public code, so it's literally public. Even if I don't log in, I can see the code that I wrote is up here. And now all I do is I take this link and I'll go to the spreadsheet for Backend Web 2.1, and I'll paste it in there for me to review. So that's how we'll turn in code, is always through GitHub. And what's cool is because I was coding and pushing today, now I get a little green fleck in my streak. So because I was pushing commits today, or I was making commits today, I'll get a little more green in my streak. So it's always important to be pushing any code you write, no matter how bad or silly you think it is, or how much you're kind of a beginner. It's actually really important to always be committing it and pushing GitHub so people can see that you're getting better and that you're coding more and more. I didn't code that much, you can see, over the summer and the spring last year. Before that, I coded a lot more. You just can't see it. And then starting, in the late summer and the fall, I've been coding a lot more. That's what someone looking at my GitHub can tell right away just from looking at it. And for you, that's really important. So always be pushing to GitHub, and that's how we'll turn things in. So you have to do it anyways. Cool. All right, I'm going to sign off here. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you Friday. Please message me with any questions if you get stuck before Thursday. Send it to me soon so that we can get you unblocked before the day of. All right, talk to you all on Friday. Bye.